Hey everybody, how you doing today? Thought I would start part two on this starter CV. A little bit different design, and I was thinking about a couple of aspects of it in comments about how you outgrow them pretty fast. Essentially said, and that usually has to do with the amount of weight it can carry and the thrust power. Obviously these aren't combat CVs. They're all meant to have some kind of like defense, mainly against like some light drone attacks and things like that, but they're not meant to like jump into battle with. Um, but upgradability would be nice on them, and I'm thinking about like aspects of that. Like I put these little thrusters in back, but I'm kind of if I rearrange this a little bit, maybe I could fit in bigger thrusters, and then downgrade them back to the little thrusters at stock. So then you would have the option to put in, say, some of the bigger 4x4x2 thrusters in the back. So anyway, let me turn on symmetry and get to work here. Um, it's kind of nice, when I take a little pause in between building, sometimes I'll look at it with a little bit different light the next day and have some new ideas and kind of scour over the body and things like that. And comments help too, because I get a lot of ideas from the comments. Um, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to remove those two thrusters, and I'm going to push those back a little bit in a second. So I'm going to have to re-put those in, but I want to place, at least for placeholder's sake, I would like to get in some bigger thrusters. A couple of these on the back and a couple of these on the bottom. So I have the housing set up to fit those. So basically, after the fact, you could upgrade the thrusters on the ship and CPU and needed power and everything else that might come into play. So I'll remove these before I release it though. So bigger thrusters here, wonderful. Um, Over here, same idea. I think I could easily fit in a angled larger thruster in this location. And I figure why not? If I rotate it right at least. So I'm trying to line those up to these thrusters right now. I don't particularly like thrusters touching each other like that. Maybe those top ones can move. And how dorky would that look if that was sticking out like that? Probably not too bad. It's awfully close to the inner wall of the hangar, which would force me to put the hangar wall here, which doesn't quite line up with the total width of the hangar door. So that's a bit of a problem. How could I overcome that? Well, mainly by pushing this thruster out one more spot towards the outer hull. I think would be a good solution there. Like something like this, but now that really interferes with those other thrusters on top. So these got to go somewhere else. Um, and then this could probably fit into there. But I also want to make sure that I could put in the little ones and have them look good too. So we got beefed up thrusters now. So we've got much more forward power and much more lift power. Two the most important thrusters on a ship like this, especially. So, all right. So next thing, let's try to work out some more block stuff. One thing I wanted to do is the bridge here. Although I like the big smooth shape, this is pretty plain Jane. I want to try to get some more detail into it, one way or another. And so what I'm thinking about doing now is experimenting to see how a bit of a beveled edge over on this top row, at least for now, would look. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rip apart some of these angled blocks that are here already, and I'm going to go with one size up, but the same type of block. So for instance, if I was using this piece there, what I would do is I would bring it up one notch to the larger version, and then follow that same angle through the rest of it. And we'll see how this looks in the end. A lot of times it's like I'll try something. If I don't like it, I can go hit undo a whole bunch of times and it goes away. So I like to, if I have an idea, I like to at least see if I like the idea. Sometimes I do. A lot of times I don't actually. After I try it, I'm like, nah, it sounded better in my head than it does in reality. So, or it doesn't work with something else. So yeah, I'm trying to avoid that as well. But all right, so now that there, it kind of does this separation. I don't mind it. Makes it look a little more, I don't know, a little bit more there. But I don't like these front blocks. I don't like how this is lining up right now. So we've got some alt blocks here. We could use, this is one distinct possibility right here. Actually, I'll probably go with this one. The other one is where it's got a flat edge on the side. But I kind of, in this case, I kind of rather have the beveled edge there. And then across the front here, we'll try to, again, swap out these blocks to line up to that new beveled edge that are there. So if I put in the wrong ones, okay. I think we got to go with this one here. Alright, so a little bit more there. I think what it could use now is something on the very, very front here. God, should I do that out of steel or carbon? Probably steel, because it's right up next to the bridge. I normally been kind of getting in the habit of trying to do a lot of this stuff with other blocks, like carbon substrate, because it's not a direct hull block. But it's just location, being on the front nose, whatever extra protection this could add is probably worthwhile. It's not many blocks, so here, to do an edge across the top, I could, I'm going to experiment with going to these thin blocks here first and see if I like that or don't like it. Could go with the same angle, obviously, which would stick out a little bit further, but I kind of like that. Kind of that break up there, I think, mixes it up a little bit, which is kind of neat. Okay, so now these blocks on the sides here, kind of thin. There's no walkway coming in here because of where thrusters and the warp core and everything is. So basically this just needs to be sealed up. So now the debate is, do I swap out these blocks with a beveled edge version on the side? How will they fit? Because that would kind of force this to be at the same relative angle on the side, which kind of almost makes me force those walls out on the rest of it too, and that's something I'm not sure I wanted to do. I don't know. Let's just follow through and see how this works out. Now I can't do like an inverted angle. That's kind of like lacking in blocks to do some of this. So I could go like that, and let's try to make this mesh in better here. Something like that. Would that work? Okay, don't like what I did here. So let's just keep that the same. Alright, so in this case, I think I will use carbon substrate for these little corner blocks here. Obviously, the more of this I can use, a little bit less weight the overall ship would have, and those would be kind of ideal spots for it. Alright, so we changed the front. It's got a little bit more complexity to it now. Just got to evaluate the pros and cons. Pros, one pro is these front thrusters, if they remain in that general location, could actually go forward another block, which would maximize interior space a little bit more. And then we could cover those up. So let me put in some of these. And then another debate, do I use steel or do I use carbon substrate for those blocks? I don't know yet. Or do I just not fill like one of the groups in and try to make a neat looking pattern out of it or something? Well, I'll tell you what. We'll fill them in for now. I'll just use carbon. Well, what do we got back here? Nothing necessarily to protect in that general area right now. If that changes, maybe these blocks could change too. We'll just kind of, excuse me, just kind of fill those in. I'm going to do a mass material replace too here to look at everything in kind of the gray box setup here. which is pretty quick and easy to do. All right. So what I don't like now is this angle here is kind of neat. It kind of comes down to this angle and they meet, but there's no like cap. There's no like trim on the bottom to match that angle. So let's see. How could that be done? How could you put in some trim here to have it work? So what I'm going to do is go to another beveled block. That there, and then the thin there. Is that what I had in place in the first place? Yeah, it is, isn't it? Except, actually, what I want to do is then bring this part out another block. I can line it up to meet the sidewall. And now we kind of filled that area in a little bit better formation. I don't know. I like parts of it better. I'm not sure if I like this part that I added in necessarily. I guess I would like it more if these blocks actually I think were indented by a little bit. So rather than this block that I used there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tone it down just a little bit. I'm going to go with this block. Might not look great at the top, but now we got a little bit of like depth row there, and we could do the same thing on the center here too. Yeah, let's put one more of these down here too, but I'll just go with the standard 45 there to match the thruster lines. Paint it back in again. Alright. Kind of weird having these lip thrusters right at the front. It's possible they get moved. In fact, maybe I should move them back again. But all right, let's switch over to another part of the ship here. This is a part that's going to be kind of important too, and I'm glad I put in the bigger thrusters as placeholders right now. It's going to need landing gear, and my idea right now was to extend this part down here, kind of on the sides a little bit, and make it kind of separated from the hull a little bit to make kind of like some side landing gear just in back, and then have a single landing gear in the front of the ship. So let me get some landing gear to start with, and this should be pretty easy. I don't typically like the single landing gear. It looks a little weak, so I usually like to go with the double. And if we could put it there, it keeps it away from the shield, at least by a block. So now we got a front landing gear. I guess I'll just fill in a couple of these right now. Okay, front landing gear, rear landing gear. I'm thinking would probably be just kind of try to get them in the right position right now, and then try to see how the blocks are going to have to work around that area. Okay, so let's see. This would be the bottom. This would be where we want the landing gear. Okay, so those should both drop down one block below the bottom of the ship, which is perfect. Now, how do you make that look nice? Especially with the big angle thruster above it. So I think what we want to do is try to build out a little something on the sides of this thruster, a bit of trim or something that goes down, maybe just out a little bit. So I'm going to swap out, actually, that was, yeah, let's try this block. Yeah, now it's doing the other angle the whole way except for when it gets to here and suddenly it's doing this. But, I don't know, let's see how it works out. Something like that. And maybe it should have another angle that heads out in these two directions away from this. Try to make it look like it's a little more structurally supported, I suppose. Alright, so here, too, go a little, let's put in a bevel here. Trying to line something up so you don't see the blocky landing gear piece in your face all the time. So let's do something like that. And how about here? We'll go with one of these alt blocks again. I've been using this this one quite a bit on this build. Maybe keep it to the same angle and style. Again, just try to make this look like it's a thing, as opposed to just some landing gear protruding out the bottom of the ship. The only thing I don't like now is this angle here now seems wrong too. It's like a 45, it's going in pretty steep. So I'm thinking I'm going to change this angle around yet again, and this time let's try to go with, God, do I start it there? Let's go with these wedges, these 22.5 basic wedges, and that would kind of line up to like that this time. And we could block that off and fall it down another, which I think would meet up to this bottom area a little bit better than what was there until we get to this point. And then what to do? What to do here? Well, let's just go really simple. Let's just go with the half block that matches that angle over there. And then that would allow us, well, I can't put any blocks here because that would be considered blocking the thruster. So now I don't like this protruding area sticking out at the edges here very much either. That looks unaerodynamic. Something I'm trying to avoid as well. So, what about wedges? What wedges can we put in here? This one would work, at least on the bottom. It's got a cutesy little lip. It kind of sticks out over the edge too, doesn't that? It gets really tricky in these spots when there's not quite the right blocks you want. But let's just let's double those up a minute, and then let's see if this can be changed in any decent way. How about one of the alternative? It's cut corner medium that will fit with those beveled edged other blocks. Then that comes up into this part here, and then you've got a gap there with no block solution again. How do we get some? Okay, well, let's just keep on modifying this all the way up then. So here, try to go with one of those. No, that's not going to work because I used the other blocks there. So where it gets tricky. Definitely gets tricky. But we'll figure it out. I could. No, you know what? I don't think there is a block for this either. Yeah, there is no blocks that are like this that carry all the way out with that beveled edge. But I'm going to double check to make sure I'm not full of crap. But I'm pretty sure there is no block for that. So that's not going to work. Okay, let's get rid of the beveled edge version here. Put in just a straight flat ones, and this does have a solution of doing that. Which actually kind of would match the front, I think, too. The front is running that same angle, which might not be a bad thing going this route here. And then up here we could put in the big ones. Wedge things here. Some of these blocks on the inside, we'll be able to carve those out again too. Alright, so we're kind of there. Except now this block is wrong again, but that I think would be a pretty easy fix. I don't like how that works, so if I just match the same angle there, I don't like that cut. So, what if it was scaled up? You see, that doesn't match either. So what really should happen is something should match the bevel on the top, I think. Could just try putting in a very straight flat block here. Again, like that. I like the separation down here, but it's probably the best so far. Let me try one other alternative block. What if that angled down here? Or how about it angled down one block before that area? There. No, that'll make it, because this is an angled thruster in itself. If it was square, it would be square all the way down to here. So I don't, yeah, no, I think the best solution on this one's the simplest one. Just running those straight into it. Like that. Okay, so now we establish the landing gear. Now, obviously, like everything else, it could be changed and modified. So that's one thing. Let's get the top of the ship done. So first thing I notice is I need to extend this elevator out, and then I got to make a debate here whether I want the landing pad to be at this block row or the top one block row above that. It can work at either. But I kind of want the slenderness, so I'm thinking if this was indented a little bit, this would be a great opportunity for this this elevator to come up, and you directly walk out into the landing pad, which is at this height, and then I'll actually save some blocks in the process. So, although most of the blocks I'm going to now place will be replaced when I do the inside of the hangar, I just want these here at least as like placeholders right now. And what I mean by being replaced when I do the inside of the hangar is basically I would cut into these and make shapes to try to add detail to the inside of the hangar. So this is one idea. So the hangar floor sits at that level. Inside the hangar, you got enough space, typically for most things on the ceiling, and that lines up so that the ceiling's still above where the top of the hangar door is. And the same goes for the bottom. So yeah, all that should work. These big thrusters were pushed out one more block row, so it's safe to walk here, which is kind of neat for the inside. So then they don't need to build a guardrail or push out the hangar wall is thinner than what the hangar door actually is, which is kind of problematic. All right, so I like that. All right, here we could, now this would be part of the ship here. Now, what do we do about this inside area now, though? We want to put blocks over the top of the thrusters. I kind of like keeping that. I want to keep this body line the same because it matches the front and everything's good in the world that way. So let's do something simple, but I want to keep it pretty trimmed up. So let's say we go to a full block row on that row, and then it instantly starts turning down to match the same angle on that side. The only thing I don't like about that is the off-centered thruster now. Looks kind of weird, but maybe I do something on the inside of the thruster assembly a little later to make that not look bad. So, alright, and then on the sides here, I think we can do this, and for the heck of it, because I'm replacing all those, I'm going to remove the blocks below it for now. They could be reutilized to do do something a little bit more interesting later, or used for other purposes. And over here, so we've got this angled edge here, so there is a solution for that. I didn't know if I wanted to incorporate that shape into the build, but might be all right. Might be all right. Or Or we fill in that bottom one, and I just, this would probably be the better plan, to keep maintaining the same angle and blocks used that I did in the other part of the ship, which would require a block on the bottom side to seal that up. That's okay. Alright, so we've got that part established. Blocks up in the top center here. Hey, you know, I gotta start thinking about turrets too, so I'm gonna want some turrets on this thing. So let's say this was the center of a turret here, and this is the center of a turret here. I'll just fill in the 2 blocks on the sides of it. Now, to make that turret actually work, where it looks like it's sitting down correctly, I would have to change the blocks on the outer and inner rows so they extend out like this, but I fear this won't look good if I do that. So let's do it to both sides a minute and see if that is acceptable or not. Okay, so I don't know. I really like that straight edge that was body line going all the way across, but this does add in potentially 4 turret positions, which is nice for function. So I think I'll go with the function route right now. Okay. Could actually add in another one of those like somewhere in this general vicinity as well, or just keep the front here a little different, because this is actually going to be more of an interior space on the front. Let's put up a wall here as well, and there'll be a roof on this part. Actually, the way this thing is set up, it's almost like you could have another landing pad up over here. There's a big enough area, which would have like the most amount of room, I think for docking out of any of the starter CVs that I've done. Maybe I'll go that route. It's cheap too. It's cheap on size class. It's cheap on everything. There does need to be a roof over this and a door though. So that's one thing. Alright, so okay with all that so far, and let's just hypothetically say this is actually a landing pad. So I'm going to kind of fill it in pretty quickly here. It's kind of boring though. It really is boring. It's it looks like it's kind of like it's its own little module though, because the top of that lines up to going around the sides and everything, kind of in uniformity, like there's a cross-cut module sitting there. But I can't keep this landing pad totally solid because it's a requirement of having a roof over this elevator and a door to seal it, which is kind of important too. Or you go with a different route and don't have the elevator go to that block, and you have it kind of come up this way. I don't know if I'd like that either, but it would allow for no blocks to be placed on this row. So I'm going to try it just to see how this would work out. But what would have to happen is I'd have to put a staircase here. And I do not use these staircases, so pretty much always the bigger ones. So what I would want to do is have that come up from that point, but then there's no way to put a door there. So I bring that back. You gotta watch this part though, because if I don't seal this, this is really weak and it's not airtight. So you know what, before I forget and have that unexplained air loss, you know, later on in the build when I forgot what's going on, I'm going to just put some extra blocks down there, kind of as a reminder, let me know that, hey, that's not airtight. Those blocks need to be there for a purpose. Okay, so this way, we've got a solid landing pad there. We've got a staircase that comes up this way, protrudes into this landing deck a little bit, but I don't think that's a big problem. It's a pretty good sized. And then we got our thing here. Now, we would also want to be able to get to the top landing deck, you know, preferably with steps as well. So let's say we had a couple staircases there. I didn't want to put them like, they could go one block into like there. I don't know. I guess either way works. And yeah, that block, those line up pretty good with that. You kind of need to get a block over the top, but there's no real options except for this block, and that is not big enough of an area. Let's put a decorative block here. How about something like this with the open hole thingy, which is a wonderful opportunity to add in a little texture light on the inside of that. Okay. Be kind of neat to get a little trim detail here though somehow. So what if went back to some wedges, and maybe not that one, but let's try to go with the same one again. See how that would look. It was done like that, and maybe about like that. I don't know. Now the inside looks a little wacky. Well, you know, I'll keep it for now. So, okay, we got a lot of this figured out. This area needs to have down thrusters re-added. So let's plug in a couple of these. I don't plan on allowing you to really upgrade the down thrust much because to me, I just don't feel it's very important versus the CPU on this class of ship. Where to put them. Also, I was trying to keep them a block away from the other thrusters, but I don't think that's going to be possible on both sides. Well, now turret goes here, so I can't have down thrusters in those locations. So maybe I divide them up. Try to put like, God, either way I'm going to be next to a thruster. Not in this location, but on the others. So for uniformity purposes, I might as well just put them both next to the thruster then. There's no other way to do it. Could leave like a placeholder to add in a couple more down thrusters there. Here, let's okay, so temporary placeholder. Don't know if I'm going to keep this, but I'm going to go over and we're going to grab some railings. And I'll just put in one of these things. Kind of, again, placeholder, letting you know, hey, maybe that could be another thruster upgrade slot. Alright, so next part here. This trim thingy over here looks kind of raunchy now. Something I wasn't thinking about before. So what I'm going to do is try to tie, I want to keep this as part of the aesthetics going around the hall there, but I got to do something with it. Oh, maybe, you know, maybe the simplest solution is just to end it. So I'll just ram that into the floor there, which is actually really simple. So, all right, put that back in place. Still don't know if I like this. Something about that I'm just not liking. It almost looked better without it. Whatever. Okay, so I wanted, I wanted to get the hall kind of like complete this video. So let's, I got another big chunk to work on here, and that is this area here. Got to tie in this part to this part. Usually one of the more tricky things to do in the game, but in this case it might be quite simplistic. We're first going to go the simplest route possible, and that is just to like kind of fill that in on that row, and on this row maybe match that angle that's already there. I like seeing that inside curve too. It helps with that illusion of separation. How do you exactly pull that off? try that in that position. Let's get rid of those 2 blocks. Match that angle. And then we got to say, okay, so this is a piece, and this is our other piece. See, the problem is I got no way to turn those in, at least there. Could go with this, but I just don't think it will look good. So you do like that, and this angle would line up to that part, but again, on looks, don't think it's gonna really be the hot ticket here. Alright, so sometimes, and if you're an Empyrion builder, you'll run into these kind of situations quite often, especially the more complicated of designs that you do. Is like you got like this section, I want to keep this section, I want to keep this section, how do I tie this section into this section? And this is where a lot of times some thought gets put in there. Sometimes when I run into this situation, knowing that there's no real block solution, the best way to do it is just to put something else here entirely. In this case, maybe I'll just wig out and add some pipes. It has a pretty good success rate, actually, doing weird things like that. So let's just say we just cut into that and we throw in a pipey thing, and let me put in one of these old pipey things over here. And here, we'll get rid of that again. And, you know, we're just going to keep the same uniform blocks here. Keep it very simplistic. And that can go right over the top of the pipe. And you can almost just wall this off on the inside. Maybe I do get rid of those angles again. Put in some full blocks. Or maybe not. Almost full blocks. Maybe like that. And still not 100% on board with that either. Alright, so maybe I'm just trying to go a little too deep there. Let's one of the other issues too is I'm trying to keep the front angle at a 22.5, so I didn't really want it to go up at a 45. I mean, the curve is kind of the exception, but rather keep it smoother. So let's say that the front angle is here. And then maybe I try to throw in the alt angle here. And, oops. Something like this. Almost works, except for this part here, because that fills in that, and then you can't make that work. So I think, you know, I just have to try to go fairly simple here. Is there any way to pull this off? Once you do eventually find a solution for these kinds of... Oop, totally didn't see that one right. Alright, usually you don't feel so bad later on though. But yeah, initially trying to figure out some of this. Pain in the butt. Looks messy. Looks messy in there right now. Okay. Maybe simplify it a little bit. there, and maybe also over here. And I don't like this either. I don't like that big flat. You're right into a wall. But I like having that separation look there. Now we're kind of getting over interior space. Well, here, all right. Maybe I shouldn't be using these parts here then, and maybe I should start angling these in. Maybe with the same angle I used on the rest of the ship too, which is this one. Kind of working a little bit better. At least it's fitting into the landing deck better. The only real problem is here where I'm trying to do that kind of forced separation. And alright, so and then here, this is a 45 joint, so let's, and it's got that bevel on it too. So you get tricky. Let's go for alt block here. See what we can do with, say, this. I got the opposite of that. Almost works, but it won't work on both axes. Does it? There's not one of these that has the lip on both sides. My goodness, maybe I should add in another pipe. I didn't want to overpipe it. How about a thin pipe? We got a thick pipe. Maybe it's thin pipe time. Or not. Nah, likes a little. Yeah. Nah, it's too much pipe. I like seeing a little bit of the bottom one. Or maybe just maybe I seal that and put in a little bit of the top one, but the whole point is just trying to make this look like it's a separate attached part. I get a lot of extra looks from doing that kind of thing, I think. Alright, so I gotta get rid of the bevels here. I think it'd be simpler to work without them on this row. We'll keep them on the row prior to that. And you can see how long you get. I don't know if it's, if you guys get tied up in an area on a build too, it happens to me too. Sometimes it's just like the simplest thing, or not the simplest thing, I should say. But you're trying to do something like what I'm doing here, and you could build like a bunch of the ship, and it goes pretty quick and uniform, and then all of a sudden you get to this area that's just non-stop trying to figure out a solution to it, which can seriously up the time it takes to build something. And you know what? I think I'm gonna alter this angle too, so it follows that through to there. Now it's a little bit better. The only thing I don't like now is the squarish thing right in the center. So what if that wasn't a square and that wasn't that block, and it actually was this block? Almost works, except now I don't like how that lines up above it. So each time though, each iteration, it's getting a little bit closer to eventually have a solution. And the pipe was on the top. And then I might as well just seal this off there. And we would need a block here, or not use that piece. Yeah, let's get rid of this piece. I don't care about size class. I'm going to use this ultra expensive block. Yes, and this one is super expensive towards size class. I think the number one, well, close. There are probably some other blocks that are pretty bad too, but this one's very expensive. It is kind of nice for some purposes that you get a solid wall on it on one side. Oops, I totally rotated that wrong. That really doesn't help too much. What if that one was the same? And down here, what if we added it in a little bit of a bevel there? Maybe just a partial bevel. And then kind of forces me to fill in a lot of blocks in this area to seal it up doing that. Alright, so problems and things. Yeah, I don't know. I'll try to work that out a little bit more at some point in time. I'll leave that for now, though. Let's see. Let's get going on with the generic bottom area. Actually, one more solution. This needs to be tied in together over here too. But you know, I bet you this video is going a little bit long again. Let me don't want to have any one of these too long. So we'll stop there. So I failed at my goal at getting the body done this episode. So it's gonna need one more build, I think, to actually get the body wrapped up on here. There's got to do this area down over here, the side pieces, and then there's a lot of detailing too. There's a lot of blocks, so probably chains. Maybe dig into the hull a little bit to add in little thingies. I do that excessively on everything. Like what I mean by that, little thingies is like these little, I put in different blocks here and there and like that there to give it some surface depth, so it's not just flat. It has to be flat on the landing pads, but to the sides of that you can play. And the more playing you do, sometimes the more detail you can get into the ship. And this definitely has some areas where I can play around, like over here, some different spots. First thing I want to do is throw on some placeholder turrets too, just to let it know that those are current turret positions. I'm not sure how many this ship will have in all, but if you're landed on ground and this is a starter CV, what I mainly what I want the turrets to accomplish is drone coverage, and stuff like that. If you get some drones flying in from any direction, hopefully, you know, with the 5 to 7 turrets positions that this might have, it'll be able to shoot those down before you take any damage. So yeah, at the end of the day, this will look kind of like a transport ship, I would suppose. Certainly not going to look like a combat ship, but I'm kind of excited for it too, because I'm thinking that this is going to have a lot of places to put stuff. Just spawn in a one SV a minute. I use the MX5 kind of as my placeholder. Like this is, if I was going to take any of the SVs I make as a standard size, this one I just kind of use as a standard size. I don't know why. No idea. It's just kind of middle of the road for SV sizes that I've made. And that would fit up there. I could pull it forward a little bit, and in fact it's wide enough to actually probably put a couple of them side by side up there, and then that gives you like a big area back here for something larger. Let's put another ship there. How about the newer Infiltrator? That's a little bit bigger. Infiltrator. That fits without problem. Again, the Renegade won't fit. That's just too big. That's a problem with the Renegade. I wanted to have a bigger SV, but it needs bigger things to dock on. So that's kind of neat. So yeah, and that's just on the top landing area, and then of course you're going to have a fairly well. I mean, for a starter CV, a pretty good size hangar. Um, yeah, that should work. Hopefully this will be practical, and I like the idea of being able to put in the small thrusters in these locations. I'll have to make the sidewalls look pretty, but be able to swap that out for the bigger thrusters in places, especially for your lift and forward thrust. I think that would keep this usable for a longer period of time. Um, and also allow increased amount of storage inside it that it could actually handle and move around. Not to mention all the ships you could dock on here. Well, anyway, hope you enjoyed this. I'll be back probably. God, I might record a video over the weekend because I'm kind of thrilled on working on this. So I'll try to get this whole thing out, and different parts of the ship will be done each time. Next video again, goal to finish up the body. This one took longer. Got tripped up in some areas like this, and I still don't know if I like what's there. That could require a little bit more work in trying to make it work. But the rest of it I think would work out good. If I get this landing pad and something nice looking along the trim here, which can be kind of fairly uniform, probably pretty quick to do. Most of the other core functions are in place. Now, a couple other things I was thinking about too is like other big parts I'm going to need. Well, I wouldn't say big, but going to need generators and fuel tanks and core blocks and stuff like that. So my idea right now on this is to I don't know. I'm gonna see. I'll explore the idea of trying to fit something useful in this area, kind of like the little makeshift engineering room on here. But what will most likely happen is I end up sticking some generators up in the upper side walls of the hangar. Usually a pretty good spot. They're out of the way. You don't get fried out either on top or inside the hangar on them. They're accessible. And not in the front of the ship, kind of off to the side. It's not a bad location to put those kinds of things, especially on a small ship. You don't have like big area engineering room and stuff like that to do that with. All right. Well, anyway, you'll have a good day, and I will talk to you later.